Shabbat Shalom. Good evening and welcome. I'm not Linda. You think you've noticed now, just wait till we start singing. However, on page 128 is Hinei Ma Tov, and it is good that we are all together. Linda will be around in a little bit as well. And page 128 says the psalm, how good it is for all of us to be dwelling here together.
And the psalmist also says, make a joyful noise. Didn't say anything about having to be in tune or being perfect. And so the congregation gets to be tired to sing. So we're all going to sing Hinei Ma Tov. This is a round setting. So I'm going to teach the first part over here. We'll do the second part over here, and then we'll do them together, okay? See what happens.
Ma tovu manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hinei ma tovu manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hinei ma tovu manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hinei ma tovu manayim shevet achim gam yachad. This group is a very quick study. They're very good. So we turn to page 120 for Hadlakat HaNerot, kindling the lights of Shabbat. And Bobby and Babs, we invite you forward for candle lighting. Candle lighting will be found on page 120. Please join. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner Hadlik ner shel Shabbat. Amen. Thank you. It's a true thing about honors in our congregation that it's work, it really is sacred work, because to get the lighter to work, to get the ark doors to open, you really do have to use your strength for Torah in this congregation. L'chadodi is found on page 138. Michaela will be helping us sing L'chadodi, the first, the second, and then on page 139, the 9th verses of L'chadodi as we welcome Shabbat as a bride. Likrat kala, penei Shabbat nikabila, lechadodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat nikabila, lechadodi likrat kala. Penei Shabbat nikabila, lechadodi likrat kala. Penei Shabbat nikabila, shamur v'zachor b'dibur echad, ishmi'anu el hamyuchad. Adonai echad u'shemo echad, l'shem el tiferet v'livkila. Lechadodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat nikabila. Lechadodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat nikabila. Makor habracha mehirosh mikedem nesucha, sof maaseh b'machshava tchila. Lechadodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat nikabila. Lechadodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat nikabila. Boi v'shalom ateret bala, gam b'simcha uv'sohola, toch emunei am segula. Boi chala, lechadodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat nikabila. Lechadodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat nikabila. Page 146, those who are able, we rise for the Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Leolam Vahed. I read at the bottom of page 148, Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on evening. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'ma'ariv Aravim. And at the bottom of page 150, Praise to you, Adonai, who loves your people Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. Page 152. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vayed. Please be seated except for Jaden, who comes forward. to help lead the Ve'ahavta. It is found on page 154. And we join together with Jacob. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol me'odecha v'hayu ha'devarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinatam levanecha v'dibarta b'ham b'shivtecha b'beitecha u'v'leftecha v'derech u'v'shokbecha u'v'kumecha u'shartam leot al yedecha v'hayu totafo bein einecha u'chtavtam al mezuzot beitecha u'visharecha leman tizkeru v'asitem ekol mitzvotai v'tem doshim lelohechem me'eretz Mitzrayim lihyot lachem Elohim ani Adonai Elohechem. Amen. Thank you. Of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better way, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there's no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together. Mi Chamocha will be found on page 158. Mim bum bim bim bum yabba bum bum bim bum yam bum bum bim bim bum yabba bum bum bim bum yai dai 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 yabba bum bum bim bum yai dai 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 yabba bum bum bim bum mi chamocha bailim Adonai mi kamocha nehedar bakodesh no rati lod o seifele no rati lod o seifele ya bam bam bim bim bam ya bam bam bim bam ya bam bam bim bim bam ya bam bam bim bam yai dai 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 yabba bum bum bim bum yai dai 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 yabba bum bum bim bum lachutecha rahu vanecha bokei ayam lifnei Moshe Miriam ze'eli anu ve'ameru Adonai imloch leolam vayed yam bum bum bim bim bum yabba bum bum bim bum yam bum bum bim bim bum yabba bum bum bim bum yai dai 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 yabba bum bum bim bum yai dai 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 yabba bum bum bim bum. Praised are you, Adonai, for redeeming Israel. I read on page 160 towards the bottom of the page. Blessed are you, Adonai, guardian of Israel, whose shelter of peace is spread over us, over all your people Israel, and over Jerusalem. Vishamru, our prayer for Shabbat, will be found at the top of page 162. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat l'dorotam barit olam beini u'v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat l'dorotam barit olam beini u'vein b'nei Yisrael oti le'olam v'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat l'dorotam barit olam ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et ha-shamayim v'et ha'aretz v'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat l'dorotam barit olam V'yom hashi shavat v'yinafash shavat v'yinafash shavat v'yinafash v'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat l'dorotam barit olam. We turn to page 164. For those who are able, we rise for the tefillah. We'll be chanting the prayers beginning on 164, continuing on the even-numbered pages through 170. Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi agita hilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak v'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel v'Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor V'Hanora El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim V'Konei HaKol V'Zocher Chastei Avot V'Imahot Umevi Geula Livnei V'neihem Lema'an Shemo Be'ahava Melech Ozer Umoshia Umagen Baruch atah Adonai Magen Avraham V'Ezrat Sarah Atagi Bor Leolam Adonai Mechaye HaKol Etarav Lahoshia Mechalkel Chaim Bechesed Mechaye hakol berachamim rabim. Shahomech noflim verofech oholim. Umatir asurim. Umekahayim emunato. Lishene afar. Micha mocha bal gevuro. Umido mehelach. Melech memitu mechaye, umatzmiel Yeshua, v'ne'amanata lechayot ha'akol, baruch atah Adonai, mechaye ha'akol. You are holy, your name is holy, and those who are holy praise you every day. Blessed are you, Adonai, the holy God. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el ha'kadosh. Please be seated. As this week's Torah portion opens, Moses sends a delegation to check out the land of Israel. The good news, the land flows with milk and honey. The bad news, argue the majority of the scouts, is that they are like grasshoppers to the giants who live there, and that leads to chaos and upheaval. The ancient story offers allegory on many levels, including the work for peace. While the world contains much blessing, there's also many large hazards. We too might feel like grasshoppers before ourselves, our dear ones, our community, our nation, our people and world. Our prayer for peace, page 179. We read in English. Grant us peace, your most precious gift, O eternal source of peace, and give us the will to proclaim its message to all the peoples of the earth. Bless our country as a safeguard of peace, its advocate among the nations. May contentment reign within our borders, health and happiness within our homes. Strengthen the bonds of friendship and fellowship among all the inhabitants of every land. Plant virtue in every soul, and may the love of your name hallow every home and every heart. Praised are you, Eternal One, who blesses our people with peace. Silent prayer, page 180. Ose shalom bimromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru amen. Ose shalom bimromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru amen. We turn to page 371 for our Misha Berach. Each Shabbat, we pray on behalf of dear ones within and beyond our congregational family. We articulate the hope that they might know comfort and peace And I invite you to raise your hand, and after I silently acknowledge you, speak the names of persons not on our prayer list for whom we should likewise pray this Shabbat. Page 371. Mi shebera avotenu mechol habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and when to say, Amen. In Shebera Imotenu Mekol Habraha Leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema. Renewal spirit, and let us say, Amen. Do we, should we, bite the hand that feeds us? Which, of course, can lead to other questions. If so, when and how? Often we are forced to make decisions that are informed by our reluctance or fear that we will upset a source of support. Tonight we're invited to consider our own struggle around it, particularly as there can be complicated and ethical issues. The question has a myriad of dimensions to look at. One of them, for strong Zionists in America, one dimension of whether to bite the hand that feeds us pertains to the current administration. The Trump administration has pursued and accomplished many longtime goals of Israel supporters in both the Republican and the Democratic parties, moving the American embassy to Jerusalem, acknowledging the Golan Heights as by necessity part of Israel, challenging the expansion of Iranian influence. Faced with existential threat from Iran, most Israelis view positively the current administration. Yet, in contrast, the most recent public opinion polls tell us that 71% of American Jews disapprove of the president's job performance, a statement that itself reveals a focus on other issues. How loyal should we be? What should we tolerate? These are questions for tonight. And we do so, I ask us to ponder one of my favorite Psalms right before we begin our conversation. And this is Psalm 15. Adonai, who may abide in your house? Who may dwell in your holy mountain? Those who are upright, who do justly, who speak the truth within their hearts, who do not slander others or wrong them or bring shame upon them, who scorn the lawless but honor those who revere God, who give their word and come what may do not retract, who do not exploit others, who do not take bribes. Those who live in this way shall never be shaken. Hadar?
Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Shabbat Shalom.
Well, so if we think in kind of a simple glance on the question that was introduced, the answer should be very simple, is no, you don't buy the hand that feed you unless you want to be hungry. However, as Rabbi said, and as the current administration is a great example of it, this question is not only relevant in the context of politics, but it's actually a question that is relevant in the context of our professional life. Do you stand up to, Shabbat Shalom, do you stand up to your superior at work when you disagree with them? It's true in our relationship. Do you really confront a loved one with the fear that you may lose their support or love? So this question is actually plaguing us probably daily, and the answer is never simple as no, or yes, or maybe. So why don't we take a moment and really probe this question on any of those domains and kind of think, how do we really juggle this question, as we do probably quite often? And I would like to actually expand a little bit, not expand actually, just to reiterate that for me as an Israeli, an Israeli who is a Zionist, fourth generation in Israel, many, many years here now, when I think about what the current administration is doing in regard to Israel, I'm actually feeling pretty good. It's been decades since an American president admitted that Jerusalem is the capital of the Jewish land. Even the question of any sovereignty is somewhat ridiculous in my mind. So to hear any president say, let's move the embassy to the capital of Israel, Jerusalem, it's in one hand very, very obvious, and on the other hand, but of course, as someone who is also very progressive in my social thoughts, and actually you don't have to be progressive, I have a lot of issues with the current president, and the question is, how do you really support something that you really care about? So let me stop. This is not a presentation. This is our Shabbat for interaction among ourselves. And I would like to open it for all of you as you ponder on this question.
And I'll be the...
Oh.
Well, I've been thinking about it a lot, especially today and yesterday, because of Iran. And I'm very concerned about Israel, who's in the middle of Iran and Saudi Arabia. And there is supposedly a lot of love from our rabbi, from our congregation, no, from our president to Saudi Arabia. And we don't know, I'm sure Iran is not a friend of his. However, he doesn't know what to do. Our president does not know what to do. And so my concern very much is not only for Israel, but for all of us in the United States and around the world, because if something goes wrong, we all go. So I think about it a lot, and I heard that it took him about 5 minutes or 8 minutes, the president, to say, oh, we're just going to discuss it with them. So that's my thought. I have a lot more to say, but I'm sure.
Other thoughts about any angle of this issue? Doesn't have to be the president. Is it a bad question?
I think what's happened is that this world has suddenly changed. It went from being respectful for everybody's opinions, for everybody's thoughts, to where we are now. this wonderful president that we have has divided this country into so many worlds of hate, and it's terrible. And I think everybody's letting him get away with everything. Nobody's complaining. Nobody's putting up any kind of signs. And I don't understand what's happening to this world. Doesn't anybody want to speak up anymore? And the word respect is something that should be respected in all forms, and it's just not there.
Michael?
Margie, I'm just going to hand you a microphone so everybody can hear.
I was just saying that my husband and I were talking over dinner about this, and he had just an interesting perspective to me about is Trump really good for, how good is Trump for Israel truly? And I think he's going to kill me, but I really would like him to talk about what he was saying, because he does not feel that it's sort of a short-term goal versus long-term goals. And
Here is a great example. Is he going to kill you or not? That's the question.
This is not the first time that she put me on the spot here. I don't know where to start, really. I think that it's very attractive, at least on sort of a short term, what Israel has gotten from Trump. But I think we have to look at this in a long term. Is this really good for Israel? Because the kind of chaos that Trump has created in the world may ultimately actually damage Israel security. If, for example, even with this Iran, we don't know what's going to happen. He's not basically a stable guy, and so it's really worrisome. So I don't think that it's really worth what he's done for Israel in terms of a long-term security of Israel and the world itself.
Okay.
We have to recognize what we have in the White House. We have a showman there. The man doesn't read. He doesn't understand history. He would flunk a elementary school civics test here in the United States. He just goes by his impulses, and he's a showman. If the crowd cheers when he says something, that gets reinforced, and he repeats that. He's not a diplomat, and so we have to depend on other people. Thank God that there are some people in our government who can keep him from doing dangerous things. And the latest story which came out that people are not carrying out orders that he gives because they know that they are destructive. So it's foolish when I hear commentators talk about what his motivation is. They're trying to ascribe to him intellect that he does not have. And so as far as the security of Israel is concerned, and I'm sure that the reason he's making these gestures is because he somehow or other decides he doesn't like Iran, and very foolishly cut out of the agreement that we had made with them and so forth, which they were abiding to accordingly. So again, we mustn't ascribe to our president as someone who knows policy which is based on reason and facts. That's not the kind of person he is. So I think that we have to say that if he's a friend of Israel's, that's nice. We're glad for that. But Lord knows what he would do if anything about the Israeli situation or the Iranian crossed his threshold of acceptance. So we're dealing with a very peculiar person in the White House. The British have it right. They use a balloon of a baby with diapers when they picture him.
But it still keeps the question, really. I mean, this is not a commentary about Trump. It's really more of what do you do when something that is very dear to you is being actually supported, and it is supported in a way that creates a conflict. And so, I mean, everything that we are discussing, there is not conflict. There is actually consensus that Trump is not someone that we respect, or at least those who spoke do not respect him. But the question is, what happens when actually you have that conflict? And how do you really negotiate without really being the one who loses everything? Like the question implies, that there will be no sustenance. That becomes more difficult.
Paul?
I'll give it a try. I don't know. It's so hard to come up with rational thinking about anything that's going on today. I mean, but the fear that I have is that anything that benefits the Jews at whatever cost is not necessarily good for them. I mean, because what I think of how a lot of the Christians, and I'm going to step away from us for a second and say, hey, he's not a shining example of Christian morality, but yet the Christians are using him to get all of their to accomplish all of their moral agenda. And I think we have to ask ourselves, at what cost is all of this agenda going to be for us? Being on the lower moral ground is not a good place to be.
We'll just pass it over. Margie?
I agree, and when I think about I feel terrible for the Israelis, because I feel that they're, especially leadership as well as the people, that maybe I'm wrong, and projecting, but I feel like it's almost humiliating for them that they have these intelligent, capable, sophisticated people have to kowtow to such a lower form of. But
Days you wouldn't worry.
Oh, it
in the
won't
least.
work anyway. Yeah, right. So, I feel that same thing. I feel compassion for them. That it must feel somewhat humiliating in a way to be so beholding to somebody like this that hands them something, unless I choose to look at it as I think Michael does, which helps me, which is that besides what he just said, that he says that they may be using him. It helps me to think that they're not humiliated by him, because they're opportunistically using whatever they can get from him during the time that he's there, and they will move on from that. But
so my question, since it seems like it's hard to move the conversation out of the political question or the leadership question here, my question is that how uncomfortable people feel, or humiliated, or shamed, or embarrassed that nobody recognized Jerusalem as the capital of Israel for decades, 7 of it. And if so, if you didn't feel that way, the question is why? No, I mean, the question is really why? Why it doesn't create the same discomfort when you think about not recognizing a capital of a country?
It does create discomfort for what happened in the past, and now just because it is happening, and that in itself is a positive thing, but it doesn't balance. It doesn't counterbalance.
I'm not suggesting that it balances. I'm not even suggesting that actually it's a price to be paid. I'm just raising the question. I'm raising the question why it is more comfortable to sit with the notion that Israel's capital will not be recognized as the really legitimate capital of Israel, and so therefore the embassy will not be placed there, that the Golan Heights, that existentially, this is an existential question to Israel, which was annexed already, was not recognized by anyone, including the leadership of this country, over many, many years since the 6 Days War. And the question is, why it doesn't create discomfort? I'm just curious.
I think we also have to ask ourselves, he also has said things to Taiwan. He's recognized a lot of other dictatorial people. And after a while, at some point, you have to ask yourself, does recognition from someone like him really help me? Look
But
at what he's doing and what is his real agenda.
But is it a recognition by Trump, or is it recognition of the United States of America, who is being led by a president that has been democratically elected? So this is in the heart of the question that we ask, and not that we suggest any particular answer, but the question is why? Why, as Americans, myself included, we are not to be uncomfortable. I am uncomfortable when Israel is not recognized the way it should be, but I'm biased. I'm also an Israeli citizen. Or maybe some of you do feel that way, that Israel needs to prove what is the capital and not to be recognized. And when the American president, be it a clown of a president, recognizes Israel, is not Trump that recognizes it. It's the United States of America that recognizes it, because that's the leadership.
Well, I've been in Israel twice. I love Israel very, very much, but I'm an American, and I'm American first, and Israeli second, I'm sorry. And so that when Jerusalem became the leader, I was not very happy about that, because I knew it was going to be a problem for us, and it was going to be a problem from Israel. And I pray that someday it can really be the capital of Israel the way we would like it to be. But right now, I am not happy about it at all. I am more concerned with the United States right now and what we are doing. And I pray that we can keep our capital in the United States.
But we have an unethical president. We all know that. And why do people vote for him? Because we have a society that does not want to take care of the poor people who may have trouble affording to make a living. And they will vote for anything that they think will help them. And we had a president prior who happened to be a minority, and they said, we don't want that, we're against the blacks. So we have this voting power out there, and we are not wanted to be taxed to help these people. And we are very selfish because we're not doing any help for them. And you can see some of our politicians that are going to be wiped out because the minority thinks they want to get help. And if we don't get together and say, hey, stop worrying about your pocketbook and let's help these people. We've had some crazy things happen in the last few weeks. The students whose parents, mostly on the West Coast, and even some in the England, who paid huge amounts of money to get their kids into school, and who were not really capable at that level. So I feel that most of the problems are with us, We want lower taxes. We want lower taxes at every level of our government. Where are we? We end up with Mr. Trump. Bernie Sanders, they say to hell with him. He's done a wonderful job in Vermont. But you know what? He's from a state with 600,000 people. And he's not going to get any place because nobody wants to pay for the subjects. We have one of the lower life expectancies in the world. Why? Because we have a tremendous amount of suicides out there. Our soldiers come home, they make a lot of friends in the service, they come home and there's no jobs. And if there is, the pay is too low. And we're not educating them. All we're very selfish, just worrying about our own kids. And they got a lot of presidents, but here we are, and we're all eating pretty well, and we all have nice homes, and it's just an awful thing when you go into the poor areas and say, hey, they're Americans, but we have schools. I had to move out of a district in Waterbury to Middlebury when my kids were going into second grade, 3 of them, because of the educational neighborhood. But it doesn't work. So if we watch our pocketbooks and vote that way, you're going to get Mr. Trump again. You have to support him.
Getting back to Jerusalem, Hadar, could you tell us what the Palestinian point of view is toward Jerusalem, and what effect it might have if the Israeli government invited the Palestinian Authority to declare Jerusalem their capital as well? I'm just a hypothetical question for you.
Not that hypothetical. Well, it's not what will happen. It is already. First of all, Jerusalem is the capital of Israel. If the United States move an embassy or not, the question is, if there will be a peace treaty, which will be a desirable situation, there will be probably, depending who is the prime minister, there will be a negotiation about East Jerusalem and so many other elements of it that will need to be attended to. But that does not change that Jerusalem, will continue to be the capital of Israel. Yeah, under any circumstances. Even if the next president will move the embassy, mind you. Yeah. Any other thoughts about the question in any of the domains? Please.
On a more local level, I spent 35 years in my career, and my job was to speak difficult truths to people who had the authority to fire me. And to speak the truth to power, to maintain a sense of ethics and honesty, and to recognize that if I got fired, I couldn't do them any good. So I really wanted to keep my job, not only to pay the mortgage, but to do some good in the midst of my work. Took a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of word crafting, and it was utterly exhausting. And I think on a global level, to maintain an ethical stance and to try to do some good requires so much careful thought. I think we need to remember that to live as ethical people in the world today is utterly exhausting. And we need to take good care of ourselves and each other to deal with that exhaustion and to support each other to continue to do ethical good in the world.
So let me ask you a question. You said that you've been doing it for 30 years, and you've said also that, you know, part of maintaining your job will be not to lose your job so you can have the voice that you wanted to continue to have. Can you maybe share how did you balance, or how did you manage moments where it wasn't an absolute question of ethics, because that I can assume it will be a little bit easier, but moments where you needed to negotiate between continue to advocate for the issues that you wanted to and move towards the place where it wasn't clear if you will lose your job, but it was important to push forward.
I'm a Christian minister, and I spent 34 years as a pastor, and most of that time I served in churches that were looking for a new pastor, and my job was to go in and search with the church about their history, where their history had been effective, where their history was holding them back, and to help them to look at themselves and see the things that were holding them back, and to see the positive things that they could do to go forward. And I found that humor was very helpful. I don't know how humorous we can be in our certain political situation, but there was a church, I was their 7th pastor in 12 years. And they would go for the cheapest pastor they could get, with no experience and not a lot of maturity, and then they'd get this cheap pastor and they'd chew them up and spit them out. And they asked me I'd been there 6 months, and they asked me what I thought about their next pastor. And what I wanted to say was, don't be so cheap. Get somebody who's got the experience and maturity. And what I told them was that they were a strong congregation. They had strong opinions, they had strong ideas, and they were not an entry-level position. That they needed to spend the money to call somebody with the maturity and the strength to meet their own. And it was a matter of thinking very hard about coming up with words that were honest, that could raise the positive things about them, and at the same time could tell them a very hard truth. So instead of just being, don't be so cheap, get a salary where you can get somebody decent, it was a matter of thinking carefully about what can I say to them that will do good. And it's exhausting to do that all the time. It wasn't just at that one meeting, it was really dealing with people all the time. It was, what's the best way to say this that's going to be helpful? In my case, that's going to be pastoral, that's going to be kind, that's going to be honest and constructive and helpful and all those things. And the word I can say about it is, it's exhausting. And it's exhausting to live in the world today, to try to be ethical and honest and constructive and helpful without pulling our hair out. And I think we need to be kind to each other and supportive of each other. And there are so many of us, liberal, progressive Christians, who just cringe at the folks who are behind Trump, getting him to do things that, let me be judgmental for a moment, are not Christian. They're narrow and self-serving and dishonest. And that's a part of what's exhausting, to hear this awful, awful theology being thrown around as Christian. And I tell you, from my perspective, it is not. But it's exhausting, to be honest, and to have to deal with this hand that feeds us. And if we don't bite it, at least we're nibbling at it. and it can be dangerous, and it's exhausting.
Thank you so much. Very well said.
So, maybe a last word about exhausting? Yeah.
From me?
No, for me? Oh, no, I have right here.
Oh,
I have.
okay.
First of all, thank you, Hadar, for facilitating a really important, lovely, important conversation and a new way for us to really get to know much more about one another. I agree with Reverend Bonnie that it is exhausting. And that's sort of the mission, though, as you know so well, as a leader of community. And specifically, that's also one of those things where I think that the faith community can be of a very special significance in that it's sort of, represented by the ongoing wellspring, or as it were, or the fire of faith. One of the things that our prophets first did was introduce this idea that we speak truth to power, and that it's not always comfortable. And Reform Judaism was always, from the beginning, about putting those sort of ethical demands above ritual. And so that's sort of part and parcel what the nature of the synagogue, and particularly a Reformed synagogue, is to be. Ritual has its place too, including upcoming bar mitzvahs. So Jaden, we're going to invite you forward to open using all of your muscles. We're going to invite you forward to open the ark for the Aleinu. The Aleinu is on page 586. The Aleinu that we chant is the second paragraph down on the page. Oh, I have it right here. So if you would open the ark. Mm-hmm. Okay. Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakol, latet gedula liotzer breshit, shelo asam kugei haratzot, Velo samanu kamishbechot adama shelo sam chelkenu kahem vegohor aleinu kechol hamonam v'anachnu korim umishtachavim umodim lifnei melech malchei hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. If you'll shut that side, and I'll do this. Please be seated. V'ne'emar, page 591. V'ne'emar, v'haya Adonai, l'melech al kol haaretz. Bayom hahu, yeh Adonai echad, u'shemo echad. We now call to mind our own beloved dead, and I ask that those in mourning or remembering the anniversary of the death of a loved one and who have trekked to this sanctuary during Shiva or Shloshim or for Yartzeit, should you be able, please rise when their name is mentioned. And we note the recent death this week of Doris Goodman, mother of Dan and mother-in-law of Linda. During Shiva, we remember Suzanne Isaac, Audrey Namowitz. We remember during Shloshim, Bert Albert. This Shabbat, remember the Yartzeits, the anniversaries of the deaths of Oscar A. Bieber, Herman Efren, Harry Fleischer, Harry Goldfarb, Bessie Green, Ray Hockheiser, Elizabeth Jensen, Victor Jensen, Michael Corral, Howard Klausner, Mitchell Klausner, Jacob Kovner, Jacob Lamhut, Jack Markowitz, Lillian Oratz, Carl Ravitz, Becky Rubin, Norman Shohet, Daniel Slater, Hazel Slattery, Florence Stambleman, and Francis Yavitz. If there are additional yard sites to mention, please feel free to say their names now. A practice within our congregation is to further consider these people. If you're comfortable so doing, we now invite you to share with this minion a brief reflection or reference about a dear one on our Kaddish list.
First, I want to say I'm sorry it's been late, but we are in a kind of a limbo situation before we've actually buried or have the funeral for Dan's mother.
This period of Aninut leading from now through Sunday afternoon, yes.
But I did feel very strongly about coming and remembering my mother and my father, Elizabeth Jensen and Victor Jensen. They were very different people, had a very different way of approaching the world. And but they were a terrific team, and they were so. My mother was very skilled and was an incredible perfectionist and very artistic, and she had so many talents, and she liked to do things very well. My father was more the fun-loving, loved family and put family first, and really wanted to have joy in his life. So they dwell with me still, and my father is kind of on this shoulder, and my mother's on this shoulder. And they have opinions, and they advise me on a regular basis. So, for example, if I'm knitting a sweater, and I make a mistake, and I'm going, oh my God, what should I do? My mother will say, you're not going to be happy with it. You really should pull it out and fix it. And my father says, oh, just pull it out. It's really beautiful. Great. So they are forever advising me. And sometimes I listen to my mother, and sometimes I listen to my father, but I always listen. Yes, ma'am.
55 years ago, on June 21st, 1964, civil rights workers James Chaney, Andrew Goodman, and Michael Schwerner were arrested outside of Philadelphia, Mississippi, and then abducted by Klansmen colluding with law enforcement, brutally murdered and buried. And we remember them this Shabbat. Each Shabbat, we also mention 6 names amongst the 6 million murdered in the Holocaust, the Shoah. And we now remember Boris Paragovsky, Manya Pardagovsky, Alter Rubinoff, Riva Menes, Ida Grovman, and Manfred Rosenman. In remembrance and solidarity, and on behalf of those for whom there is no one but us to say Kaddish, we now invite all present to rise if you are able. Our Kaddish prayer is on page 598. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, Be'alma divrach chirute ve'amlich malchute, B'chaye echon v'yom echon v'chaye d'chol beit Yisrael, Ba'agala v'izman kari v'imru amen. Yehei shemei Rabbah mavarach le'olam alamei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar v'yitale v'yitalal shemei d'kudusha b'richu. Le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, damiran bi'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Zichanam l'vracha, may their memories be for blessing. And let us say, Amen. Please be seated. Joyce?
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Thank you for a beautiful service, Rabbi, and our service leader. Thank you. Do we have any good news?
The sun came out. So this Sunday is my mother's 94th birthday.
Oh, God bless.
And one of the things she's celebrating is the birth of her 14th great-grandchild. Our first grandchild.
Mazel tov.
Who was born this past Tuesday.
Oh, wonderful.
Little guy who's got a really big name. His name is Theodore Shimamura Moore. And we call him, yes, I know. And we call him Ted. And he's just absolutely over the moon. And the parents, our son and daughter are all just delighted.
Wonderful. Great news. So you said it. That's the anniversary. Any other good news? Yes?
Both my children separately are happy with their wedding anniversary. I think it's today. My son is married 30 years with his wife, and my daughter is married 2 years with her new husband.
Wonderful. Mazel tov. Any other good news? Yes? No? All right, so for Saturday, June 22nd, which is tomorrow, 10 a.m. Torah study. Monday, June 24th, 10 p.m. is a Shiva for Doris Goodman. Friday, June 28th, 7:30 Eve Shabbat services is Jaden Hoser, service leader. Tonight's Oneg is sponsored by our B'nai Israel family. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you. We join together.